Welcome, you're watching Silkway TV channel. I'm Daurian Sagulov. Today, from our studio in Astana, we will be covering the arrival of President of Russia, Vladimir Putin, who is currently in Kazakhstan on a state visit at the invitation of President Tokayev. In a few minutes, we will be able to see the President's motorcade, Russian President's motorcade, arriving at Akorda. Akorda is the residence of the President of Kazakhstan, where the official ceremony for the visit will begin. And it will begin very soon. What do we know at this very moment? High-level negotiations are scheduled during the visit. Following the talks, a joint statement by the heads of state will be signed, along with several intergovernmental and commercial documents, the specifics of which we will learn later. Additionally, the heads of state will participate via video conference in the 20th Forum of Kazakhstan-Russia Inter-Regional Cooperation. And of course, on November 28, under the chairmanship of Kazakhstan's President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev, the next session of the Collective Security Treaty Organization Council will take place. Let me remind you that the last time Vladimir Putin was in Kazakhstan was in July 2024, when he attended the meeting of the Council of Heads of State of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization member countries. The previous visit occurred on November 9, 2023, when he was in Astana with an official visit. That meeting between the two leaders marked the 10th anniversary of the signing of the Treaty on Good Neighborliness and Alliance in the 21st century between our countries. At that time, both sides expressed their intention to deepen ties through the Security Council of Defense, law enforcement agencies, and special services of the two states. Now you can see the presidential residency Akorda in Astana, where in a few minutes we will be seeing the motorcade of the Russian President Vladimir Putin. What else is important to highlight? As I said earlier, this year actually marks the 11th anniversary of the signing of the Treaty on Good Neighborliness and Alliance in the 21st century between Kazakhstan and Russia. This document laid the foundation for mutually beneficial cooperation, encompassing virtually all areas of activity between the two countries, from trade and industrial collaboration to the development of the nuclear industry. Astana and Moscow maintain regular high-level contacts as well as cooperation within various organizations. This allows them not to only synchronize their positions on key issues, including foreign policy, but also to plan for the future. For instance, in November 2023, Kassym-Jomart Tokayev and Vladimir Putin held bilateral talks during the Russian president's official visit to Kazakhstan, as I mentioned earlier. Later, in July 2024, President Putin visited Astana to participate in the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit as well. Both sides place great emphasis on the development of border regions, as the intensity of these connections directly impacts the economic well-being of small and medium-sized enterprises in Kazakhstan and Russia operating in each other's markets. In this regard, the Kazakhstan-Russia Inter-Regional Cooperation Forum, held annually with the participation of the heads of state, has become an effective platform for showcasing achievements and addressing unresolved issues. In November 2023, the 19th Forum was hosted in Kostanay, Kazakh city Kostanay, and focused on agriculture as the foundation of a strong economy. The forum concluded with the signing of several business agreements, including those on pension provision, mutual recognition of academic degrees, the launch of new air routes and new transit routes to third countries through the territories of Kazakhstan and Russia. We are still waiting for the President of Russia, Vladimir Putin, to arrive at the presidential residency, Akorda. Yes, it is almost 6 p.m. in Astana. The weather is quite good. Everything is ready to welcome the Russian President Vladimir Putin in Astana. What else should we discuss? Notably, the 20th anniversary Forum of Regions of Russia and Kazakhstan just kicked off yesterday on November 26 in Russian city Ufa, Bashkortostan. The President of Kazakhstan and Russia, it is anticipated that they will participate via video conference. The agenda includes discussions on the further development of bilateral relations within the framework of Eurasian integration organizations, as well as regional and international issues. The forum is expected to result in the signing of an updated cooperation agreement between the Omsk region and the North Kazakhstan region. And while we're waiting for the official welcoming ceremony to begin, I think energy cooperation deserves special mention, particularly in the context of global trends where countries are forecasting an impending energy resource deficit. Russia ensure mutual supplies of electricity both within commercial agreements addressing the energy needs of isolated regions and to maintain the parallel operation of the two countries' unified energy systems. Significant attention is given to sustainable functioning of the fuel and energy sector as well, including through the development of renewable energy sources. And I'm being told that the motorcade of Russian President Vladimir Putin is arriving at Akorda, the residence of the President of Kazakhstan, where the official ceremony for the visit will begin. Yes, now you can see the motorcade of the Russian President. As always, he moves in all his foreign visits on a vehicle that was made by Russian companies. It is famous Aurus vehicle, I suppose. Yes, he's now almost at the Akorda residency, where he will be met by Kassym-Jomart Tokayev, the President of Kazakhstan. Let me remind you, it's not the first and not even the second visit of Russian President to Kazakhstan, especially in this year, in 2024. The Guard of Honor is ready, is saluted to the Russian President. Here you can see both leaders of two countries, Kassym-Jomart Tokayev and Vladimir Putin. What is being discussed remains unknown, but I guess the result of this discussion we will be covering later, where all the meetings, where all the negotiations in narrow formats and bilateral format will be held. Here's the image from the Akorda. the official orchestra, the presidential orchestra, is ready to welcome the Russian president. And now the ceremony has begun. Now you can see that the Russian leader is greeting the members of Kazakh delegation, all the ministers, as tradition dictates here at the presidential residency. It's a part of the protocol. And after this, Kassym-Jomart Tokayev will also meet the Russian delegation. What else should we know about the collaboration? As I mentioned earlier, we were talking about the collaboration in energy sector. Collaboration also extends to the oil sector. Some of the well-known Russian companies operate successfully in Kazakhstan. Let me remind you that in February 2023, Kazakhstan's national company Kazmunaygas and Russian national company signed a series of agreements to develop the Kalamkasi, Khazar and Awezo fields in the Kazakh sector of the Caspian Sea. In January 2023, the government of Kazakhstan and Russia's Gazprom signed a bilateral roadmap for cooperation in the gas industry. And later, in November of the same year, during the International Gas Forum, the government of Kazakhstan and Gazprom signed a strategic cooperation agreement. This agreement, designed to last for 15 years, will govern collaboration in the supply, transportation and processing of natural gas, as well as its exploration and production. The transportation of oil through the territories of Kazakhstan and Russia represents a significant component of the fuel and energy sector of both nations. You just listened to the national anthems of Russian Federation and Kazakhstan. Here on Silkway TV channel, we're covering the state visit of Russian president to Kazakhstan. And to discuss all the political and economic implications of this visit and the bilateral negotiations, I'm joined by our studio expert, Yersultan Zhanseitov. He's a head of the Chinese and Asian Studies program at the Institute of World Economics and Politics. It's good to see you here. Thank you. Thank you very much, Yersultan. So, could you please tell us what are your impressions of this ceremony? Maybe what can you say about the details of this greeting?
Of course, first of all, we should say that, as it was mentioned by both our leaders, by Mr. Vladimir Putin and Mr. Tokayev, that they have really good personal relationships with each other. We can see that clearly now. We just witnessed the official part of the meeting, the national anthems. So I think this is the very historical moment that we have witnessed now, especially given the current geopolitical situation. Kazakhstan and Russia were partners and strategic partners and friends for all the decades and all the history that we know. So given the uneasy times that we are witnessing now, this is the significant moment.
Yes, as we remember, President of Russia last visited Kazakhstan in July 2024 for the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit. So all that you mentioned, this is what makes this visit is quite significant, right?
Also, there is the fact that there will be the 80th year anniversary of the Victory Day, like the victory in the World War II. This is the very important date for both Kazakhstan and Russia, and I'm sure that the celebration will be upheld in on the higher level, the 80th anniversary.
Yes,
that's one moment that makes it so significant.
Yes, now I see. Right now, my colleague Ainur Mangali is at the president's residence and ready to join us live. Hello, Ainur. You're now in Akorda, where all the action is unfolding. Could you please share the latest updates and tell us more about the agenda of this visit?
Hello, Doren. Thank you very much. Yes, indeed, we are now in the Akorda official residence of the President of Kazakhstan. A little bit earlier now, we could witness a welcoming ceremony here in the residence, and one can notice that there was a large delegation from Russia who came to accompany President Putin on his visit. There were also lots of Russian journalists, representatives of different media outlets. So you can see the general interest in this visit and also assess the importance of this visit to both sides. Prior to the visit, the biggest print media of Kazakhstan and Russia published articles of the presidents of two countries. Reading it, one can understand that both Kassym-Jomart Tokayev and Vladimir Putin are paying a lot of attention to the development of a bilateral partnership. Kazakhstan and Russia have the longest land border in the world. This is the known fact. And this means a lot, not only for trade and economic partnership, but also for development of relations in education, cultural and social sectors of life. So let me give you some numbers here. According to President Tokayev, 23,000 Russian companies are working in Kazakhstan, 4,000 of which have opened in the last year alone. The volume of mutual investments is also consistently increasing. In 2023, Russian companies invested more than $3 billion in Kazakhstan, and Kazakhstan in turn invested the same amount of investments in the Russian economy. Countries implement large-scale joint projects in different sectors of economy. To date, we are talking about more than 90 projects worth more than $18 billion. Another important direction of cooperation is so-called cross-border cooperation. Again, I'll give you some numbers here. More than 32 million people are living across the Kazakh-Russian border, and that means that development of trade is very important to actually fulfill the demand of these markets. So that's why it's also expected that two presidents will take part in the 20th Inter-Regional Cooperation Forum later today. So as you can see, Kazakh-Russian relations are developing in multi directions. Two countries are also members of different regional and international organizations. I'll mention some like SCO, Shanghai Cooperation Organization, EEU, Eurasian Economic Union, and CSTO, Collective Security Treaty Organization. The meeting of the latest, by the way, will be held tomorrow in Astana. So the agenda of the visit is busy. Indeed, it is expected that presidents of countries will hold bilateral meetings in both narrow and extended formats with the members of official delegations, members of the government of two countries, as well as businessmen and investors. So the nature of the state visit implies signing of a number of agreements and extended negotiations on the high level. Let me remind you, this is the fourth time this year that two presidents have had the chance to meet each other and talk face to face, not to mention regular telephone calls. So a range of topics are expected to be discussed this time, including the issues of bilateral cooperation. As I mentioned, this is economy, trade, investments, but also the issues of security on Eurasian continent. So the presidents will be addressing some of the key issues on the agenda. So that's everything from my side today, right now. So Doreen, I'm giving the floor back to you.
Thank you very much, Ainur. It was Ainur Mangali, my colleague, right from the center of the events, Hakorda. Thank you. Yersultan, let us continue our discussion. My colleague Ainur has already slightly mentioned about the economic cooperation, but let us go into details to review it from the experts' side. So how would you assess the current level of economic cooperation between our countries, and what new opportunities might emerge after this visit?
We could say that we are witnessing the historical levels of economic cooperation. The last year, in the year 2023, the overall trade turnover was around $28 billion, and now within 9 months of the current year, the year 2024, it's already $20 billion. So we see that the trade turnover is expanding, and also other significant dimensions are trade and logistics. Apart from oil and gas and energy sectors, Russian Federation, the Russian side is very interested in diversifying the Asian logistical routes. Most of them are going through Kazakhstan in one way or another. So we can say that the trade with Russia-China trade is also going through Kazakhstan, like the biggest share of the trade. Another direction is the trade within the corridor of north-south that goes through the Caspian Sea, from two sides of the Caspian Sea. Then after that, further it goes to Iran. Then it passed to the South Asian countries. In all of these cases, Kazakhstan is a very important player and partner. So I think trade and logistics will be the big part of the upcoming agreements.
As we know, both our countries are the members of the Eurasian Economic Union. So what prospects do you see for the development of this union, and maybe do you expect any initiatives that could be proposed during this visit?
Talking about the Eurasian Economic Union, usually we're having a separate summit in December annually. So I think the most decisions will be made there later, next month. But in general, talking about the union, we can say that it has its potential, the potential of expansion. We can see that other players, regional players like Azerbaijan and Uzbekistan, the leaders of those countries are showing their interest in the union because all of our countries are interconnected. So it will be easier for all of us to have like same terms and more transparent borders that will help to facilitate the trade. I think the Eurasian Economic Union has its potential to further expansion.
Many experts, including you actually, you already mentioned that, suggest that the economic front of the discussion may center on the need for Astana's more active involvement and financing in the construction of the Russia-China gas pipeline, as you said. So could you please go more into details? What are your thoughts on this project?
Yeah, of course, like as we've already mentioned, Kazakhstan is a very important player in terms of logistics and transport. That's about like general logistics, talking about railroads or like automobile transportation, and gas pipelines and general pipelines like oil pipelines are also part of transportation. And that project has been discussed for quite a long time. It has its huge potential. And for Kazakhstan side, I think one of the benefits is that we can, bring the gas to our northern and eastern regions of the country while implementing the project. I think that's one of the huge benefits for Kazakhstan, because as we know, our country is quite large, and most of our oil and gas reserves are in the west. So we need to keep all of our regions developed. So I think this is the big plus for Kazakhstan in implementing this Russia-China pipeline, gas pipeline.
Let us move to another topic. Just recently in October, President of Kazakhstan participated in the BRICS Summit. So in your opinion, what are the prospects for this organization and how can Kazakhstan contribute it?
Well, we can say that BRICS is the focal point for building up a new, this multipolar world order, which most of the BRICS countries are interested in. Russia, China, India, and all the other BRICS countries are interested in building more diversified world order. And for Kazakhstan, talking about Kazakhstan, I think our perspective is about being a partner member of BRICS countries and strengthening the group of middle powers within the BRICS countries. Because most of the new members and most of the prospective members of BRICS countries are from the global south. So global south are the countries that are being now developed. They are developing countries. And Kazakhstan is surely one of the developing countries, and we are the middle-sized country. So I think if Kazakhstan will be proposing the initiative of, building the middle powers group within the BRICS, that would be helpful for all the members, and especially for Kazakhstan as well.
I see. Given the global shifts in energy markets, what opportunities are emerging from joint projects in renewable and nuclear energy between Russia and Kazakhstan? What do you see?
Well, nuclear energy is quite obvious because we know that Rosatom is the #1 country in the world in regards to nuclear energy. Many projects are being implemented in China or in European countries like Hungary, even though we can see that the European Union is putting sanctions against the Russian economy, but the sector of nuclear energy and the country and the company Rosatom has never been under any sanctions. So this is the strong part of the Russian side. Of course, their technologies and their expertise could be helpful in implementing our projects in Kazakhstan. But I think the final decision will be made by our government, by our president. So, but the expertise from the Russian side could be helpful.
Yes. Let us move to another topic about CSTO. On November 28th, as we know, a meeting of the Collective Security Treaty Organization will be held here in Astana. So what can we tell about the agenda of the summit, and what messages do you think Kazakhstan will deliver at this summit?
Well, we should say that we are living in a very interesting time of history. Of course, many other countries have their own points of view on what's going on in Eurasian countries, in Eurasian continent. And of course, CSTO is in the middle of all these discussions. For countries like Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, and countries from Central Asia, the #1 question in our agenda is the security about the Afghanistan issue. So I think, in my point of view, at least from our side, the #1 question will be how to secure all that borders between Tajikistan and Afghanistan, and how to help to stabilize the situation in that country, in Afghanistan. Also, we see that after the Taliban came to power in Afghanistan, the level of hostility decreased, but still there are some significant issues there, especially in regards of humanitarian crises. So I think that topic will be one of the most important topics in the upcoming CSTO Summit.
And I've got one more last question, Yersultan. Of course, this visit is attracting the attention not only from the Kazakh and Russian media, but international outlets. So what do you think the other world leaders are anticipating from this meeting in Astana?
Well, talking about Kazakhstan's position, I think our president and our government has made it clear. We are partners with everyone. Also, of course, other players, as I've mentioned before, are trying to put us in the situation where we have to decide which side are we picking in this global confrontation, like the Russian side or the Western side. But as Kazakhstan, our position is that we are partners and friends with everyone. Our president has demonstrated it like a week before when he visited France. So now we are hosting the Russian president. So I think our message is that we are not joining any camps of confrontation, and our relationship with the Russian Federation comes from our historical background, and we have good relationships with Moscow, and it doesn't mean that we are choosing any sides or any camps in this kind of conflict. I think that will be Kazakhstan's message.
Yes, Yersultan, thank you very much that you agreed to do this interview. Thank you for joining us. It was a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you. And it was Yersultan Zhanseitov, head of the Chinese and Asian Studies program at the Institute of World Economics and Politics. And that's it for today. You've just witnessed the official welcoming ceremony at Akorda. We will cover new details of Russian president's visit to Kazakhstan and all about new agreements in our next broadcast on Silkway. We will provide a detailed analysis of the visit outcomes, so stay tuned and keep watching Silkway TV channel. See you next time.